Hi, I'm John Mallis. Welcome to this live edition at Connect with Me on the showroom floor at Ventura TV on this Monday morning. It's on the air, off the presses. Today we'll talk a little bit at the top of the show about this controversy that's going on at ESPN, your favorite sports network. 436 Me TV option 11. Connect with Me starts right now.
Tonight I want to discuss the importance of the television medium to the American people.
And welcome back to the program on the air, off the presses on this Monday morning from the showroom floor at Ventura TV. We're live, of course, and we have an open phone line at 436 Me TV option 11. And as you know, Monday through Friday, you can catch us on Comcast, channel 375. But if you don't have Comcast cable, you can catch us over the air broadcast. That's 13.1, 43.6 over the air. And the replay comes up later in the day, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, 13.6 YouTube. 8 o'clock tonight, 4.6 Biz TV. That also is over-the-air broadcast with an antenna. Those two replays right there early in the afternoon. And then tonight, of course, you can catch us on YouTube. You can just go to our Ventura Broadcasting webpage there on the internet. Just Google it, and then it'll have a page that's connected to our page called Connect with Me. And you can catch this show or any show that you like. I guess it was a busy weekend in sports with baseball and football going on at the same time. The National Football League in its second week of the season. The Raiders pounded, of course, the Jets. The Niners losing up to the Seahawks in Seattle. And a lot of you may or may not have been watching ESPN, one of your favorite sports networks, right? You might recall just recently we did an entire show about cable television and how ESPN is losing millions upon millions of subscribers across the landscape. I'm talking about across the country. They're losing millions of dollars. In fact, they let go about 100 people, including one of our favorites here, Trent Dilfer, who was a longtime ESPN analyst. More controversy coming up as far as ESPN is concerned. Just recently, Jemele Hill, she is an ESPN sports anchor. She's an African-American woman. She tweeted out that Donald Trump is a white supremacist. No reprimand, no suspension, no firing. There's a lot of controversy about it. Here's a report now from NBC.
President Trump, who's long made the news media a target.
Fake news. Fake news.
Tonight taking aim at the sports network ESPN.
We're going to see a lot of teams off to slower starts.
After African-American anchor Jemele Hill tweeted, Donald Trump is a white supremacist. Hill is co-anchor of ESPN's flagship Sports Center. In a series of tweets Monday, Hill called Mr. Trump the most ignorant, offensive president of my lifetime. Today, without naming Hill, President Trump demanded an apology, tweeting, ESPN is paying a really big price for its politics. Apologize for untruth. This from a president who rarely, if ever, apologizes. The president's press secretary Wednesday suggested the sportscaster should lose her job.
I think that's one of the more outrageous comments that anyone could make, and certainly something that I think is a fireable offense by ESPN.
Today, Sanders was asked whether the network should fire Hill.
That's not a decision that I'm going to make. That's something for ESPN to decide.
The National Association of Black Journalists says it supports Hill's First Amendment rights. The sports anchor has deleted the offending tweets, posting, "My comments express my personal beliefs." Late tonight, ESPN's president sending out a company-wide statement reiterating its social media policies that comments should not be inflammatory or personal, adding, "Our handling of this is a private matter." Peter Alexander, NBC News, the White House.
Live in our studio now is Mike Briggs of Central Valley Talk.com. He's been with the media for a long time, has had that company over there for many years. We'll talk about that during the course of the program, but we'll also talk about the latest controversy with ESPN. We've done several shows regarding broadcasting and on the air, off the presses. We talk about the media. This is one aspect of that today. So we'll talk and entertain your phone calls. I want to know what you think about this. Should Jamel Hill be reprimanded, fired, suspended, just gone for a day? We'll talk about that during the course of the program with our guy Mike Briggs here, who is a former city councilman, a former state assemblyman, now a member of the media. 436-ME-TV, option 11. I'm waiting for your phone call. Weigh in, call in, back in a moment. At 2020 Optometric, your vision is their focus. Whether you're 5 or 65, Dr. Thomas Casagrande will get to know you, your lifestyle, and vision needs to ensure that your contacts or eyeglasses are a perfect fit and the right prescription every time. With the Valley's largest selection of eyewear, 2020 has over 2,000 frames, including top designer brands like Coach, Tiffany, Prada, Ray-Ban, Oakley, and more. Eye exams start as low as $89, so call or stop by to schedule your appointment today.
When you like Ventura TV Appliance on Facebook, it's nice. But when you love the Whirlpool appliances we deliver, it's even better. Our website is cool, and it's a good place to start, but you really should touch the merchandise before you buy. Touch the new Whirlpool Ice Collection. It offers a modern style made to create an inspiring kitchen experience. Save big on this Whirlpool Black Ice or White Ice kitchen. Come in to Ventura TV Appliance and touch the merchandise today.
All right, back here on the program. Glad you're with us on a Monday. It's On the Air, Off the Presses, talking about the media. And oftentimes we hear criticism one way or the other. You know, the network is too liberal and the network is too conservative. Whatever the case may be, where is there a network that is down the middle? Mike Briggs is here this morning. How are you, Mike?
Good.
Good to see you this morning.
There doesn't seem to be a down the middle network, does there?
There's no down the middle network.
Yeah.
So what do you make of this?
I see the editorialism coming through in the evening news. I mean,
yeah.
They're not just reporting the news anymore. They're taking real positions.
Exactly.
On the Today Show, I watch every day. They do it, and all through the media. Now ESPN. Taking stands?
Well, this wasn't, no. Jamel Hill did not make these comments during ESPN Sports Center.
Yeah.
She just tweeted out, what she thought. But that would that be similar if say, Lester Holt of NBC Nightly News or David Muir of ABC News would tweet out something that had nothing to do with their particular program, their news program?
Well,
is it the same thing?
Had ESPN not elevated her to a celebrity, none of us would have noticed the tweet or responded to it or anything. Because she's on ESPN, now her tweet becomes important.
Yeah. So what do you think about this?
Yeah.
What's your take on it? Should she be reprimanded in any way?
I think she should be treated just like the other people who've done this, and they were all fired.
Yeah, well, let me just rip off some of the names. A lot of people talking about this, tweeting about this. It's all over social media, this story. Conservatives say that the All Sports Network has shown its true colors by leaning too far left. And let me cite some examples. Just a couple of years ago, last year, in fact, I think Curt Schilling was fired. He's a 3-time world champion, World Series champion, played for the Boston Red Sox, of course. Linda Cohn, who is a 22-year veteran of ESPN Sports Center, a very well-respected, very well-liked sportscaster, who was Jewish, by the way. She thought that she gave an interview with WABC Radio New York. She said she thought that ESPN had lost some of its base by becoming too political. If anyone wants to ignore that fact, they're blind. Schilling was fired. Cohn was reprimanded. Hank Williams Jr. fired in 2011. Remember, by ESPN for leaning too far to the right. Robert Lee, an ESPN sports play-by-play announcer, pulled from a Virginia football game because of his last name. So would you analyze this for us? Is this a double standard, or is this just ESPN adhering to their own rules?
Yeah. Well, I think she broke their rules. I mean, you saw the president of ESPN saying, we're just reiterating in a memo that we don't post things that are inflammatory. And she did. It was pretty inflammatory. On our little network, Central Valley Talk, when Obama was elected, we had some of our hosts of our conservative shows saying, let's get rid of this guy. Let's remove him. Let's get him out of here. And I said, wait a minute. Obama was elected fair and square, as was Trump. So this thing where you're calling for the overthrow of our government just because a person doesn't fit your ideals, I think that it's getting out of hand. And I think this is an example.
Yeah. So you think, in your eyes, is it a double standard?
It is a double standard. Why are they letting her get away with it when the others were let go?
Right. Well, you saw the piece, the ESPN president there, and basically the ESPN statement says the comments on Twitter from Jemele Hill regarding the president do not represent the position of ESPN. We've addressed this issue with Jemele, and she recognizes her actions were inappropriate. But if it's really unclear at this point if ESPN is really dinging Hill, or if it's suggesting that if calling the president a white supremacist is out of bounds. I'm not sure which.
Right. Yeah. That's a pretty bold statement in the first place. But if somebody doesn't like Trump, they should be able to speak up about it. But people who've been elevated to celebrity because of their position, now they're using that position as like a bully pulpit. Hey, everybody look at me, and people look and listen to her. And but she's only there because of ESPN.
Right. So the question is, if a person is working, well, there are two questions. Should ESPN be political in their comments or their statements? Should they stay out of the political game? That's number one. And number two, if you're an ESPN anchor, I don't care if you're Jemele Hill, I don't care who you are, a play-by-play announcer, should you be making political comments, say, on social media? I mean, people have been fired for that.
Right. And there's one thing to do analysis. That's one thing. I mean, but what if somebody says Colin Kaepernick is tweeted out Colin Kaepernick's un-American because he won't stand for the national anthem? Should a reporter's job be to make judgments like that? And or should and I know they're not even a political station, but she's a reporter and an analyst. It's one thing to analyze, but to go after someone like that, I think, is over the line.
Right, and there are a lot of players around the National Football League right now as the NFL season has started. Marshawn Lynch, one of them, running back for the Oakland Raiders, not standing for obviously the national anthem based on what's happening in this country. With police shootings regarding African Americans. We'll talk about what's going on in St. Louis too as well, and over the weekend a lot of protests, some violent clashes as well. Another police shooting there. Should those comments be made by a sports network?
Yeah, and I don't.
Should they stick to the game?
Right, and I think a sports network ought to be analyzing the sports or reporting on the sports. And analysis is great. How this player played. This player's not doing so well this year. But to single out a player and attack his character, I think would be out of line.
Just because they don't stand for the national anthem.
That's right.
I mean, you don't attack somebody's character is what you're saying.
Right. Now the viewers can. You know, a lot of people, and Kaepernick's not on a team right now, probably because of that. The players, the coaches, the owners can do that, but for an analyst or a reporter to actually go after the character of the president of the United States, I think it's crossing a line.
Right, but there are a lot of people that are backing Jemele Hill too. What do you make of that?
Well, a lot of people back Kaepernick, and a lot of people saying, even what's his name, the Patriots quarterback on 60 Minutes said, "Oh, Kaepernick ought to be on a team. He's a good player," you know. So
you're talking about Tom Brady.
Tom Brady, yeah, he said it on CBS this weekend.
Yeah,
so Kaepernick ought to be playing, but different people have a right to believe different ways. Kaepernick has a right not to stand for the national anthem. I believe he has that right, but then be ready because people are going to judge you, and you're going to have a blowback for it.
But the difference between, like, say, this is a talk show. This is not a news show. Okay, so if this was a news show, would we not be allowed to tweet or be on social media talking about our political beliefs? But if this is a talk show, then we can cross that line?
Well, I think we could talk about people's beliefs and standing or not standing for the national anthem, and we can analyze it. But to go after their character, you know, in the United States of America, we all ought to be able to stand or not stand or speak out on our beliefs. But be ready for the repercussions for doing that.
Yeah. All right. Mike Briggs is here from CentralValleyTalk.com. He's been around a while here in the city of Fresno, has his own talk show as well on CentralValleyTalk.com. 436 MeTV option 11. We welcome your phone calls. Call in, weigh in on this topic about Jemele Hill, about ESPN, about the media in general, and what's going on around the country. 436 MeTV option 11. Back in just a moment on this Monday morning.
Not sure what you're watching? Want to see what's coming up next? Or just want to browse what's on without the hassle of flipping channels? Your wish has come true. Now you can view schedules for all the digital TV channels available in the Central Valley. Get local weather updates and forecasts, and listen to nationally syndicated Biz Talk Radio, all on KVHF 4.1. Rescan your TV now, then tune in to Digital Channel 4.1 to start enjoying the all-new TV Guide.
At 2020 Optometric, your vision is their focus. Whether you're 5 or 65, Dr. Thomas Casagrande will get to know you, your lifestyle, and vision needs to ensure that your contacts or eyeglasses are a perfect fit and the right prescription every time. With the Valley's largest selection of eyewear, 2020 has over 2,000 frames, including top designer brands like Coach, Tiffany, Prada, Ray-Ban, Oakley, and more. Eye exams start as low as $89, so call or stop by to schedule your appointment today. Back here talking with Mike Briggs, talking about the media and what's happening at ESPN, and a lot of controversy over the weekend, of course, on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. It's all over social media. The media in general, Mike, you have so many cable networks that are on the air right now. A lot of people cutting the cord because they can't, and you saw what happened with ESPN. They've lost millions of subscribers, millions of dollars. Not sure why. They laid off over 100 people, including Trent Dilfer, who was an ESPN analyst, of course. But what do you make of what's going on and how things are being reported in this day and age with the social media? Is social media driving these newscasts?
I think it is. I cut the cord. I only use antenna. I watch Connect with Me every morning at 10 a.m. over the antenna. I have 50 channels or something like that. So I think as these companies, these anchors are getting more bold, attacking the character of people, using their bully pulpit to do that, instead of being fair and giving us the straight news, I think you're going to see more people cut the cord. When I watch the evening news, I don't even take the Fresno Bee anymore because I get all my news as it happens. The second it happens, it pops up on my phone, and I've got all the news. So I think these companies need to start being more careful. By the way, Whoopi Goldberg on The View, is it The View?
Yeah.
She goes directly after the president over and over and over on that show.
But that's not a news show. That is a talk show. So is there a line? You say, okay, well, that's a talk show. They have their right to their opinion, just as Rush Limbaugh does have a right to his opinion. He's far to the right, of course, on radio.
But I think there's a difference between analysis and discussion. I've got one side, you've got another. Let's weigh the merits, and then going directly after and attacking somebody's character, like Whoopi does it over and over.
Okay, but Limbaugh does the same thing. He attacks the character of certain people. Right, on the left.
Yeah,
Am I right?
I don't get that channel anymore.
Oh, he's on the radio, but
he was on KMJ. I listened to him for years, and then he went somewhere.
But would you agree with me on that?
Yeah, I guess
that
he
Limbaugh
does.
Cross the line. He does attack the character
and
of some people.
But that's
he did it during the Clinton era.
Also,
he went after Chelsea Clinton.
Yeah. That's the nature of his show, and you expect that. That's his character. But to have a sports anchor, it's just out of character, and I think out of place. Right. I'm not talking about just her either. I'm talking about anybody who's doing it, like Whoopi is, and even these late night talk show guys. They're going right after the president.
Right. Colbert does it every night, of course, on his show, at least almost every night from what I've seen. Of course, Sean Spicer making headlines the last few days. He was on Jimmy Kimmel Live the other day. He was at the Emmys last night. So, he's kind of making the most of his celebrity status right now because he was the spokesman for the White House. And Spicer he seems to be well received by the audience, at least he was last night.
Spicer was, yeah. And he's kind of a character himself from Saturday Night Live. They built him into a character and kind of a funny punching bag. And by the way, I don't want to be a Trump apologist. I'm not apologizing for Trump. In all honesty, he sets himself up for a lot of this. He tees it up, and he's an easy target because of what he does himself. So, but
I want to get your take on how Spicer was received from an audience last night, from a Hollywood audience that is mainly leaning left.
Yeah.
And here's a guy that worked for Donald Trump in the White House, and he came out and made a joke about how many people are watching, how many people are here tonight. Of course, doing a retake on the day after the inauguration, as you know.
Yeah, I thought it was very cool and fun, and I think he's got a good sense of humor to do that, because he could have been beat up for doing that. But again, you see the media's portrayal now, that the media says, oh, it's a bad thing, and everybody's angry over it and stuff like that. I'm saying, well, who's angry over it? I think the media makes up these headlines sometimes.
Right. Well, he was a good sport on Jimmy Kimmel Live. And as you know, Alec Baldwin, I guess he won the Emmy, last night for playing Donald Trump. And Trump never has won an Emmy, I don't think, when he was on The Apprentice, right?
Right, that's right.
I don't think he ever won, but here Baldwin
Wins if
one
we're playing him.
playing
Yeah.
him. Ah, interesting.
The best.
So,
My only commentary on the Emmys is that John Lithgow won for Best Supporting Actor for his portrayal of Winston Churchill in The Crown, and he did a tremendous job of that.
yeah. Hey, caller, you're on the air with Mike Briggs. What's your take on what's going on at ESPN and maybe around the media circles around this country? Go ahead. You're on the air.
Well, my feeling is that there's a difference between giving an opinion and slandering somebody. She didn't have a First Amendment right to slander him. She could give her opinion and said, I believe he's acting like a white racist. That's her opinion, and that's valid. But when you say something that's like a fact, then that's slanderous, and she should be sued for it. And that's what he should do, is sue her.
Well, let me ask you this regarding, forget about Donald Trump for just a moment. What should ESPN have done about Jamel Harris? Should they have suspended her? Should they have fired her? Many people are calling for her dismissal when these other people were reprimanded. What about ESPN? What's their responsibility in all this?
Well, since she's an employee, it's their responsibility to control their employees, and they're totally liable for it, so they should fire her.
You're saying that they should fire her? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
They should fire her for calling the president a white supremacist?
Yes.
Why? What about a suspension, maybe?
Well, look at other examples, and you have to go by, I can't think of the term because it's a legal term.
The
You
precedent.
have to go by what has happened before.
Yeah, there's a good precedent for firing her.
Exactly,
Yeah.
President.
Okay. All right, caller. Well, thanks for weighing in. I appreciate it. I urge more callers to weigh in on this topic. 436-ME-TV, option 11. What do you think about what's going on in the media, specifically ESPN, and the controversy surrounding Jamel Harris? And by the way, you can watch ESPN Sports Center. I think late in the afternoon, Jamel Harris comes on. She's been on there for a while. Very popular with the viewers, by the way.
Yeah. I can't watch it. You know why? I don't get ESPN.
No,
I cut the
understand.
cord. So I've never seen her before, and I'd never heard of her before. But again, I just want to say we wouldn't be talking about this tweet except that she's an anchor on ESPN.
Right.
A lot of people tweet stuff about the president that we never discuss or even hear about.
All right, we're going to come back in a moment with more of Mike Briggs. We'll kind of change topics here. 436-ME-TV, option 11. You can call in, weigh in on this topic, or perhaps the next one that we talk about on this Monday morning. It's on the air, off the presses, and maybe how the media is handling this situation now in St. Louis. Are they giving it fair coverage? 436-ME-TV, option 11. Back with our program in just a moment.
The new Frigidaire Professional line at Ventura TV Video Appliance. Enjoy generous-sized cooktops and sauté or simmer with ease, while true convection ovens offer even baking and juicy roasting perfection. Foods stay their freshest in spacious refrigerators with convenient controls and clear filtered ice and water. Easy to clean surfaces reduce fingerprints, and the quietest of dishwashers makes cleanup a snap. The new Frigidaire Professional line at Ventura TV Video Appliance.
At 2020 Optometric, your vision is their focus. Whether you're 5 or 65, Dr. Thomas Casagrande will get to know you, your lifestyle, and vision needs to ensure that your contacts or eyeglasses are a perfect fit and the right prescription every time. With the Valley's largest selection of eyewear, 2020 has over 2,000 frames, including top designer brands like Coach, Tiffany, Prada, Ray-Ban, Oakley, and more. Eye exams start as low as $89, so call or stop by to schedule your appointment today. Back here on the program, kind of going over some news items that have happened that are hot over the weekend, Friday, and carried through Saturday, Sunday, and maybe even into today. Talking about the ESPN situation and on the air, off the presses here, of course, on a Monday morning, and what you think about that. You can still call in and weigh in on that topic, 436-ME-TV, option 11. But also over the weekend, another huge, big story that broke on Friday, and that is the St. Louis protest going on right now, based on the fact that Jason Stockley, he's an ex-police officer in St. Louis. A judge found him not guilty of first-degree murder. A judge made that decision, of course, in St. Louis. It's really ironic considering what happened in Ferguson just about 2 or 3 years ago, a suburb of St. Louis. We all know what happened with Michael Brown there. So Stockley was accused of shooting an African-American motorist by the name of Anthony Lamar Smith. This took place back in 2011, but the judge just made that decision on Friday. We've had 3 days of protest. You've had property damage. Protesters have clashed with police, many arrests. Obviously, there's some police officers were hurt. Here's a recap on what's happened in St. Louis over the weekend after that judge made that shocking decision.
Things got ugly early as protesters clashed with police on the streets of St. Louis.
No justice! No peace!
Some promising more unrest.
We are going to shut this city down.
Police have responded with a show of force tonight after a judge's decision to acquit former St. Louis police officer Jason Stockley in the shooting death of Anthony Lamar Smith. Smith was shot dead after a police chase in 2011. Stockley claimed he saw the suspected drug dealer reach for a gun, but only the officer's DNA was found on the weapon, leading to allegations that it was planted. Officer Stockley can be heard on dashcam during the chase say he's going to kill Smith. In issuing his decision today, the judge said he couldn't say that the state had proved every element of murder beyond a reasonable doubt.
The verdict has created frustration and anger for many in our community.
Smith leaves behind a young daughter. His family spoke through an attorney.
They were shocked.
The case has echoes of the 2014 unrest in nearby Ferguson following the fatal shooting of Michael Brown by a white police officer. Brown's family has been in contact with the Smiths.
I'm reliving right now what this family going through.
Tonight, concern that protests will grow, forcing this community to relive Ferguson as well.
Many businesses here in downtown St. Louis closed early today. You can see barricades in front of the courthouse, and schools have canceled after-school activities. The governor has even placed the National Guard on standby should things escalate. Lester?
Blake McCoy tonight, thank you.
All right, so another incident that took place in St. Louis, just outside of Ferguson, and just a few years ago, it was Darren Wilson, another white officer who got off, never convicted of any crime in shooting Michael Brown. Here we have another one, of course, that took place over the weekend, Jason Stockley. I don't know if you watched any of the news reports. CNN covered it, all the networks, NBC, ABC, CBS. Two-part question, the coverage, and what do you think about another shooting and another white officer being released?
Yeah, and in all fairness to everybody, well, I think it was an overreaction on the part of the crowd, but these overreactions are causing many police departments to take a look at their policies and how they conduct themselves and things like that. And I think that's not bad. And this one, in all fairness, the cops were chasing this guy. He could have killed a lot of people racing through the town. When the cops got him, the cops shot him, then the cop goes to his trunk, his own trunk, climbs all the way in the trunk, reaches in a duffel bag for I don't know what. They were trying to say maybe he planted a gun. But he did stand trial and go through the system and was acquitted of the charges. Now, the protesters going to the mayor's home, I mean, what did the mayor have to do with it? Throwing rocks through the mayor's window? The judge rendered the verdict, not the mayor or the city. Was it in the city of St. Louis?
Yeah.
I don't know exactly where it was, but the crowd is just, they become thugs. You know, breaking windows, damaging property. It's one thing to protest. We had a protest in the Tower District last night. Nobody broke any windows, caused any property damage, broke any laws, and they made a big statement in the tower without breaking any laws. Mm-hmm. So there is a way to protest, and certainly in America we should be able to protest.
Right. That's what a lot of people are saying, but we've seen this happen over and over again. And we talked about Colin Kaepernick. We talked about Marshawn Lynch sitting during the national anthem. Mm-hmm. This is one reason why they are sitting, is because of shootings like this.
Yeah.
Am I right?
Well, shootings like what? Was this a legal shoot or wasn't a legal shoot? The judge says it was legal. So, you know, what are you really protesting? If we've seen some where the cops we know they were bad, they did bad, and, you know, they get fired and even go to prison. And hopefully our legal system will work for us.
Right. Okay, got a call coming in here. Good morning, caller. You're on the air with Mike Briggs. What's on your mind today? A couple of topics, of course, we've touched on already this morning. Caller, are you there? Hello?
Yeah, okay. Mike, let me ask a real quick question. Everything's coming down on the white officers that are acquitted. But, I blame it on the jury, okay? They got all the information, this and that. So if anybody didn't get blamed, don't blame the president. He's going to get it anyway. And don't blame the police officer. I mean, there's Asians, whites, black, and whatever. They're going to get a bad rap. Poor guys, to be a police officer, you've got to take a lot of this static. But I firmly believe with all the problems they get, the juries are the ones who acquitted them. But like get upset, whether it was black or white or whatever, if it was already decided that the officers were acquitted, they didn't have any information, and all the police officers now in the United States are going to get a bad rap no matter what. What do you think?
Yeah, and I agree. I kind of made his point. This police officer went through the system and was acquitted, and who do you want to blame for that? It's a pretty good system we have. I wouldn't want to live in any other country because we have the best justice system and the best system of justice, and I think it works pretty good. But we cannot have police officers second guessing themselves. Like, oh, I better not shoot this guy pointing a gun at me because of his race.
All right. Here's what I want to get into, obviously, in the next segment here before I take a break. But you're a former Fresno City Councilman. You kind of know how city government works. You were there. You sat in the seat. You work with, I believe you worked with Ed Winchester, didn't you?
Yes, he was the police chief.
Yeah, he was the police chief prior to Jerry Dyer. Yeah. So you know how City Hall works. You know how the police department works, and you know what the mentality is of the police officers. So if you were a sitting city councilman today, knowing what's happening and what's gone on around the country in the last 4 to 5 years with a lot of these officer-involved shootings, saw what happened in Dallas. Okay, a lot of police officers, I think there were 5 that were shot and killed in Dallas just a year or 2 ago. And so with all these police shootings going on around the country, as a councilman, if you were there, how would you deal with this topic? Because you've had controversial shootings right here in the city of Fresno with Dylan Noble. Would you discuss this with Jerry Dyer, with the Police Officers Association, with the council? I mean, as I recall, you didn't lean too far left or too far right. You were kind of down the center. So how would you approach this in terms of what's going on here? Bring it home to the Central Valley.
Well, first, as a councilman, I always operate on philosophy. What my philosophy for things like this is, if you don't trust your police chief, you have to get rid of them. So, we trusted and we put trust in the police chief. However, we may have asked him to come in and come before the council and tell us about his policies and how they're training officers, just so we could reassure ourselves and the entire city that policies are in place to make sure this kind of thing didn't happen.
So you would sit down with the police chief and talk to him about these things?
Yeah, I'd say we want to know, tell us your policies. We tried not to dictate to the police chief ever. I didn't. Like I say, either you trust the police chief, and at the point you don't trust them, you have to get rid of them. Not just the police chief, any department manager in the city. And the police department is just that, another department.
But the council may not trust him, but the mayor might trust him. And so it's hard to get rid of a police chief that maybe the council doesn't trust, but yet, really has the ear of the mayor.
Yeah. But the council can always summon the police chief before the council and ask him, hey, what's your policy? Tell us about the policy. Reassure us and the community what your policies are and that they're good for the public. We never had to do that when I was on the council, but that's probably what we would do now.
That's what would happen now, do you think? I don't think that's happened, though, recently. I don't think that's happened here in the city of Fresno, although Dylan Noble was a very highly controversial shooting here in the city of Fresno.
And we would never have brought the police chief up and say, tell us about this specific case.
You wouldn't do that?
No, but we'd say, tell us your general policy and reassure us that the policies are in place.
I'm just curious, why, that you brought up a good point, because I didn't know that. Why, as a citizen here, I don't know, why would you not bring up a Jerry Dyer before the city council and say, what happened on that Dylan Noble shooting? What happened?
Well, first of all, there's sort of a chain of command there that, the police chief actually works for the city manager. The city manager works for the council. So you let things go through the chain of command. I will tell you this: we have something in the city called closed session. Whenever we're talking about a legal issue, city's getting sued, or there's a problem like that, we do take it into closed session. We would get briefed, and at those points would ask the police chief or any department manager very specific questions.
You got it. All right, let's take a break here with Mike Briggs. He's a former council member, former state assemblyman. We're talking about a lot this morning. 436 MeTV option 11. Back in just a moment.
Frigidaire. It means the first electric refrigerator. The first compact electric range. Now, there's the Frigidaire Gallery Range with Symmetry double ovens. It's designed to cook multiple dishes at multiple temperatures, so you can prepare the entire meal at the same time. Frigidaire, over 90 years of legendary innovation.
See the full line of Frigidaire appliances at Ventura TV Electronics and Appliances.
Not sure what you're watching? Want to see what's coming up next? Or just want to browse what's on without the hassle of flipping channels? Your wish has come true. Now you can view schedules for all the digital TV channels available in the Central Valley. Get local weather updates and forecasts, and listen to nationally syndicated Biz Talk Radio, all on KVHF 4.1. Rescan your TV now, then tune in to Digital Channel 4.1 to start enjoying the all-new TV Guide.
When you're looking for Whirlpool innovation and quality, who has the answers, the selection, the price? Ventura TV Appliance. With billions in nationwide appliance buying power, more than Home Depot and Best Buy combined, we'll help you save. Our low prices on Energy Star qualified Whirlpool appliances save you energy and money, and pay no interest on select models when paid in full within 12 months. Ventura TV Appliance, serving you since 1951.
The following is a list of celebrities you will not see on MeTV programs. Charlie Sheen, Lindsay Lohan, Snooki, Paris Hilton, Perez Hilton, Honey Boo Boo, Justin Bieber, Simon Cowell, Chris Brown, Miley Cyrus, and the Real Housewives of any place. This is who you will see on MeTV programs. Lucy, Ralph, Mary, Perry, Gilligan, Kenneth, Spock, Batman, Rowdy, Festus, and the Beaver. MeTV. Thanks for watching.
Want to create something extraordinary? Create perfection. Our lifestyle appliances make it easy. KitchenAid, Ventura TV Appliance, and you, when only the best will do.
At 20/20 Optometric, your vision is their focus. Whether you're 5 or 65, Dr. Thomas Casagrande will get to know you, your lifestyle, and vision needs to ensure that your contacts or eyeglasses are a perfect fit and the right prescription every time. With the Valley's largest selection of eyewear, 20/20 has over 2,000 frames, including top designer brands like Coach, Tiffany, Prada, Ray-Ban, Oakley, and more. Eye exams start as low as $89, so call or stop by to schedule your appointment today.
Frigidaire. It means the first electric refrigerator. The first compact electric range. Now, there's the Frigidaire Gallery Range with Symmetry double ovens. It's designed to cook multiple dishes at multiple temperatures, so you can prepare the entire meal at the same time. Frigidaire, over 90 years of legendary innovation.
See the full line of Frigidaire appliances at Ventura TV Electronics and Appliances.
Matters now. The mayor of Fresno bridging the gap between the community and the Fresno Police Department. KC24's Gregory Woods joining us now. So, Greg, not only did he announce the hire for the Office of Independent Review, he is also announcing who is on this newly formed Public Safety Advisory Board.
That is absolutely correct. The Office of Independent Review used to be out of state, but now the new hire not only lives in the city and works more closely with the community and the department, but he will also work with the department. We would also work with the Public Safety Advisory Board.
Please welcome our new independent police reviewer, John Gliotta.
Thank you, Mayor.
This is the man tasked with the job to hold officers accountable and help build trust with the community. He only answers to the mayor and city manager.
They are not coaching me or telling me what's hands off or make sure that you don't touch this area here or answer it in this fashion because we want to make sure that they're happy. They haven't said that at all. So, and that's one of the things that intrigued me about this position.
Gliata will use his 30 years of law enforcement experience to review officer-involved shootings and community complaints. The mayor says he comes with an impressive resume, a veteran of the FBI offices in Sacramento and Washington, where he helped handle internal affairs, including officer-involved shootings. Gliata says he'll have an open-door policy when it comes to public transparency.
If you have an issue, feel free to come forward, and we're going to be very receptive to that.
Gliata will also work with the Public Safety Advisory Board. It's 9 community members from every district in the city who represents their neighborhood.
It's my ethnic group that sometimes, they have concerns, and I could be the voice and bring back and inform them.
I really respect the fact that Fresno is being progressive and, having this advisory board, especially when you see policing and communities kind of at odds with one another.
Gliata hopes to fix that with the help of police, the advisory board, and the community.
I'm not here to make friends. I'm not here to make enemies. I'm just here to do what's right.
And Fresno Police Chief Jerry Dyer is not in town today, so he was not able to comment on the mayor's announcement. The president of the Fresno Police Association, Damon Kurtz, says they had some concerns at first, but they're in support of the mayor's effort. Reporting in the studio, Gregory Woods, KC24 Local News. That matters. Greg.
Okay, so it kind of segues into our next, issue and topic, and that is right here in the city of Fresno. I haven't gotten your take on this. John Gliata, the new former FBI investigator, now is the new police auditor. He's supposed to be totally independent from the city. He lives here full time. It's not a part-time job. He's going to monitor all of the situations regarding the police department, whether they're involved in a shooting or not. As a councilman, former councilman, what do you make of this? Good idea, Mike?
Well, again,
this is like your forte.
Yeah,
it
comes back to, do you trust your police chief? Do you trust your police department or don't you? This police auditor idea, I think, was fairly unpopular amongst the police department itself.
Right.
But we have had instances, and we're seeing it in city after city after city, where people are saying, hey, the police department's being unfair. And, of course, anybody that's on the brunt of a police action probably thinks the police department's being unfair. But I noticed that the mayor was very careful not to say police auditor. Police reviewer, or I forget what his terms were.
Right, but he is the new police auditor. He is to take over immediately. He was 27 years with the FBI, analyst for Fresno County, the Sheriff's Department. He has a national reputation, of course, and if you look at some of the violence that's gone on in Fresno, just this year alone, you've had 42 homicides, although violent crime is down overall by 8.4% here in the city of Fresno from a year ago. The fact that Jerry Dyer was also out of town when this announcement was made, and he had no hand in this decision. It was the mayor's decision, and almost like keeping a campaign promise. I'm going to do this because of what has been going on.
Yeah. Well, I think the issues are totally separate. That we have a lot of homicides that the police department needs to be looked at. I think a police auditor would just review, when there's a instance of police misconduct or an accusation of misconduct. But it did sound like he's going to review every aspect of the police department.
He's going to review every aspect of the police department. The police department, of course, the association signing a new contract with the city of Fresno recently. Obviously, the murder rate has nothing to do with the police auditor, but officer-involved shootings certainly do.
Yep, yeah. Now, interesting, I always tell people, we're murder capital for a while. I said, we're pretty safe here in Fresno because most murders are between a brother-in-law and a brother-in-law, or husband and wife, or cousins or something. People are usually related to who they're murdering. Therefore, all the cops in the world can't stop those.
Right. So in your mind, a good idea or a bad idea by the mayor? Good decision by the mayor or bad?
I don't think it's going to hurt the city at all, and I don't think it's going to hurt the police department at all. I've just never been a big fan of police auditors.
Okay. Because?
It's just a philosophical. Like I said, I operate philosophically, and I say you got to trust your police chief and trust your police department, or you need to make a change.
Yeah. Okay. You've said that a number of times today, and I totally believe it, and I totally get it. But it's the mayor that hires him, right?
Yeah.
It's not the council.
Right.
He doesn't need the council approval to hire the police chief.
That's
am
correct.
Am I accurate about that?
Well, still, everybody works for the city manager.
I understand.
But I think they just said on that clip that the auditor works for the mayor.
Right.
Which I was surprised to hear.
Yeah, the auditor does work for the mayor. So the mayor, as long as we're on the topic of the mayor, Mayor Lee Brand, assess his performance thus far.
I think he's been doing a good job. You don't see him in the news making a fool of himself or embarrassing the city.
Right.
I think he's got a good, solid philosophical base. And I think he's making judgments based on his philosophical base. He's, a conservative and will conduct the business of the city conservatively. And I think he's doing a good job so far.
Right.
I don't want to say I think he's doing a good job. He is doing a good job.
Right. Not a sanctuary city. We saw what happened with DACA here just recently. DACA, of course, was put aside by President Trump, giving the Congress and the Senate a 6-month window to work out immigration, and maybe he'll bring it back. But now he's kind of changed a little bit, saying maybe I do want to protect these 800,000 that are here as part of the deferred action for childhood arrivals. So Fresno is not a sanctuary city, yet Fresno Unified, Bob Nelson, the new superintendent, he's going to protect DACA students. Fresno State, Joseph Castro, they're going to protect DACA students. What do you make of what's going on with no sanctuary city here in the city of Fresno, but California may become a sanctuary state?
Yeah. It's the saddest issue. The children, I believe in the innocence of children. These children are innocent, and they were brought here. They don't even know where they're going. Get in the car or wherever, however they got here. They were brought here, and their parents may have come here legally on student visas or work permits or whatever, and they brought their kids with them. And now the kids grow up and say, what do you mean I'm not American? What do you mean I can't stay here? It's a very sad issue. At the same time, we've got to be very careful about telling people the way to get in is to sneak in. You don't need to apply and go through the process and wait in line, and when it's your turn, you get to immigrate. We have to be very careful about telling people the best way to get in America and stay in America is just to sneak in. And I can't second guess what the president's doing. Who can, right? But I think he's very sympathetic. I mean, the idea that he expressed his sympathy for these kids before he reversed DACA, and he's expressing it now. He's worried about them. But I think he did the right thing by saying that this isn't a presidential edict that lets these kids stay. It has to be an act of Congress. I don't think shouldn't have been in the president's power to do it in the first place.
And should we feel obligated to protect these 800,000 that are already here, not by their own choice, but many of them are, they're in the system. They're working, they're going to college, they're contributing to the economy. Some have full-time, some have part-time jobs. Should these people be allowed to stay here?
Yeah, and I don't know, is that the definition? Are they working or going to college? Or are some of them not working and going to college? They keep saying that. It sounds a little more like a spin to me. But it's going to be up to Congress. Congress has to take a tough stand. Is this going to be the policy of the United States of America or not? And I think that's where it belongs.
All right, caller, go ahead. You're on the air with Mike Briggs. What's your question? What's your comment, please, on what we've talked about today?
Well, I think when it comes to the police and actions, whether it be the officer back in St. Louis or our own chief here, deputy chief, the one that was convicted not too long ago here in Fresno,
Keith Foster.
I'm sorry?
Keith Foster.
Yeah, Keith Foster, a man of color, I might add. And I really think it gets back to Dr. King's words, judge a man by the content of their character and not by the color of their skin. And so many people today are colorblind because the election didn't go their way. But I wanted to ask your guest, since he's a former assemblyman, about the priorities at the state level of the Senate leader, Mr. De Leon, and even the Assembly, more worried about sanctuary state, health care for all, some of these really unsustainable things, and overlooking some of the things like water and things. And when you were in the Assembly, what were your priorities way back then?
Yeah, my priorities were state things, not federal things, that's for sure. I led the charge.
Thank you, caller.
I led the charge for water and led the charge for taking things out of the state's hands and putting them back into local government's hands where things belong. And now the state thinking they're its own country. They're having foreign policy. They want to cut their own trade deals. They want to have a sanctuary state. They want to provide health care for all. These aren't things that belong in the hands of the state
and they
government.
want to protect the environment here in California.
Protect the environment.
Yeah,
Well,
which Donald Trump doesn't want to seem to do. So,
Yeah.
so you think that California? So being a former member of the California State Legislature, it's a lot different now than when you were serving.
Yeah.
What direction do you see the state going in now?
Yeah. Well, what do they say? The state of California would be the 5th largest economy in the nation if it was its own country. But we are the United States. We fought a war over that when some states tried to break off in the past. So, I do strongly believe in states' rights, but certain things belong in the federal jurisdiction and those that belong in the state. And as the caller was alluding to, the state's not doing that good of a job doing the state stuff that they should be doing.
In terms of?
Well, like the water and
Temperance Flat you're talking about?
Temperance Flat. I was the first one to pitch Temperance Flat when I was in the legislature, and it was
What year was that?
That was 08 to 02, 98 to 02.
98 to 02.
Yeah.
Okay, and so and it's still not done, still not built, and we do have the bond money to do it.
And when the state's very whole legislature is very centered on the Bay Area and Southern California. So even when we do pass water bills, I got a little one through, but all the money went water bond. Actually, all the money went to these bigger cities that have the power in the legislature.
Interesting. So with California, you also have the issue. You bring up Temperance Flat. You have the issue in the news recently about the underground water tunnels. That are underground under the Delta.
Yeah.
Okay, they come from the north and travel to the south.
Right.
All right. There are going to be lawsuits over this.
Yeah.
All over the place. I mean, you got lawsuit after lawsuit after lawsuit. Is this a reality or is this fantasy? I mean, Governor Brown wants these water tunnels.
Well, there's a governor back in the 70s that wanted them too. Oh, that was the same governor, wasn't it?
Same
Same
governor.
Water tunnels under, so they could ship more of the northern water to the south. So, water storage would be a more likely reality.
Scenario?
Yeah.
Okay.
We built dams and they work pretty darn good, I would say. Of course, the state doesn't build many dams, but if we have to, we should do it. That's something that should be in the federal jurisdiction. The Federal Bureau of Interior or the Conservation, the Army Corps of Engineers do dams. One or the other should be doing these dams. But if the federal government won't step up and do it, then the state definitely should.
Yeah. All right. More with Mike Briggs. Going to take a quick break here. 436-MeTV option 11. If you want to call in and weigh in, we'll get back to the issue of the Fresno Police Department. A couple of quick questions before we go to Mike Briggs about that, a former councilman, former city councilman, and also a state legislature. Served back from 1998 to 2002. Back in a moment.
When you're looking for Whirlpool innovation and quality, who has the answers, the selection, the price? Ventura TV Appliance. With billions in nationwide appliance buying power, more than Home Depot and Best Buy combined, we'll help you save. Our low prices on Energy Star qualified Whirlpool appliances save you energy and money and pay no interest on select models when paid in full within 12 months. Ventura TV Appliance, serving you since 1951.
Not sure what you're watching? Want to see what's coming up next? Or just want to browse what's on without the hassle of flipping channels? Your wish has come true. Now you can view schedules for all the digital TV channels available in the Central Valley. Get local weather updates and forecasts, and listen to nationally syndicated Biz Talk Radio, all on KVHF 4.1. Rescan your TV now, then tune in to digital channel 4.1 to start enjoying the all-new TV guide.
Back here on the program, Mike Briggs is here, former council member. What do you make of the story about the Fresno Police Department? To roll a videotape on the wild scene, Fresno Police protecting the president when he came here last year. We've seen this video many times, of course, in riot gear. Of course, you had many police officers from around the region, not just Fresno PD, but Fresno Police. They make less money, Mike, than the officers do in Clovis and Dinuba.
Well, it's contract time, right? And
well, yeah, Fresno PD, they already signed their contract. The association signed their contract. I think it's good for 2 years with the city here just recently. But they make less money apparently than Clovis and Dinuba.
And I will say this, if you want good and well-trained officers, you want the best of the best, you got to pay them. So if Fresno police officer getting paid less, I mean, for their families, they're going to go to another department or to the sheriff's department or to another city for pay equity. When I was young, I think before I got on the council, you may remember we had Charter Section 809, where police officers' pay was set by an average of 6 or 8 different police departments. So their pay didn't get political. It didn't fluctuate from mayor to mayor, and it gave them more security in their job. But if you don't pay them, you're going to lose them.
Yeah, Police Chief Jerry Dyer has been criticized a little bit for his salary, upwards of $200,000. He's probably nearing retirement here in the next year or two, I guess. I'm not sure. The last time he retired and came back, the Fresno city leaders, they had a difficult time in trying to replace a Jerry Dyer.
Yeah.
You see that happening again? And why was that? Yeah. Why did they have such a hard time?
Well, you know, they just hired the new school superintendent.
Bob Nelson.
He's going to get paid almost $300,000.
Yeah, $295 by the way, a year.
Yeah, and that's what top executives get paid. You want a top executive that, I mean, some of these guys work, you know, they don't have time off. They work every minute they're awake, like the school superintendent. And you see Jerry Dyer out all over the city, not just you know, behind the desk, but he gets out there and morning, noon, and night. And if he ever retires, they'll probably have to do a nationwide search to get a top professional executive to take his place.
Right. Okay. So you agree that Fresno PD is getting the short end of the stick, and they ought to be up there on the scale.
Yeah, and I always fought for equity for the police department when I was on the council, not because I favor or disfavor the police. I just think that you want the best of the best, just like teachers. You want to keep and recruit and keep good teachers. You better be willing to pay them, and same with our police officers.
Yeah, I think we got about 4 or 5 minutes left here in the program. Talk a little bit about CentralValleyTalk.com. You know, here on this program, we've been on 5 years. Sometimes we talk controversial issues like we do today. Other times we have, you know, soft pedal issues. So it kind of runs the gamut. We have different types of shows every single day here. As you well know, if you've tuned in to this program at least once or twice the last 5 years, you know that it's not the same every single day. It's different. So at CentralValleyTalk.com, what's the mission statement over there? What do you guys do?
Well, we celebrate what's good about Fresno and the Valley, and our shows try to celebrate that. And by the way, we have 40 different shows each week. We have 40 live shows a week, the broadcast from CentralValleyTalk.com. So there's a lot of private shows. People come and have their own show there, and they're welcome to talk about any topic they like. We just ask that they don't run anybody down or don't put anybody down, and that we try to stay positive and celebrating what's good about Fresno. So we have a wedding show, we have a real estate show, we have an arts show, we have an authors show, we have a music show. We have a variety of shows on a variety of subjects. And if anybody wants to have their own show, we're a place where they can come and have their own show.
All right. How much time left in the show here? About 30 seconds or so, Mike. Got to hit the road because we don't want to get cut off.
Don't want to get cut off, John Miles. I appreciate you having me. I'll be back next month, I hope.
Okay. All right. Mike Briggs, thank you. CentralValleyTalk.com, former councilman, former state assembly member. Back tomorrow with another edition of Connect with Me. Have a good day.